Hi, hey, and all those other greetings, Sped Adventurers. I'm Jakes, welcoming you guys back to my gaming and unboxing channel, where today I am super excited for what I have to show you guys. But before we get into that, I gotta tell you about my second channel called Jakes Original, with script stories like Girl Cyclones, Quincor, Florali, as well as some old vlogs and some art. So today for the unboxing, we've got a new line of Sonic merchandise. Thank God. Okay, so if you didn't know, Sonic merchandise and, well, a lot of merchandise tends to go through different companies. Generally, Mario has been in Sine and Jakks Pacific's hands for quite a long time with plush and figures. However, the Sonic franchise has passed from so many different things. We've had plush from Toy Factory. We've had plush from Toy Network. We've had freaking Denny's plush for Sonic. I mean, that's not the company, but that's the company that sold them. So it's fair to say there's been a lot of plush that have just been out there. And then, of course, you guys probably know, if you're watching this video on my channel, you probably know GE, which I love Great Eastern. It's amazing. Which they're still doing a few plush and reissuing plush. And then we also had Tomy, which Tomy recently finished up with their line. And Tomy I have very mixed feelings with. They've made some amazing plush and amazing contributions to the Sonic merchandising line. We have a Dark Child plush and a Zavok and Infinite figure. That is mind-blowing to say the least. But we have had lows with them. Their first ever Shadow plush didn't even have the whites on his shoes and just didn't look finished at all. It just looked like a rush product that they put out there. And yes, it was official. And it was licensed and actually sold. Yeah. But despite that, and even though to a slight extent I'm going to miss Tomy because their figures were very Sonic Adventure, we have a new company. That is Jakks Pacific. Now, you might have noticed before how I said that Jakks Pacific is in charge of the Mario figure line. Well, they take a very good care of that and many other Nintendo properties. So I'm pretty excited to see what they do. So far they've had playsets, they've had Mighty already, which is insane. But we're not here to talk about figures right now. As much as I love figures, we're here to talk about something, believe it or not, I love even more. Their plush line. That's right, I spent $70 to get these plush. Before we look at them though, I do want to mention the fact that these are very weird and hard to find, and I bought these off of Toy Wiz. Now, normally I don't do this, however, the fact is I have not seen them at Targets, I've not seen them at Best Buy, and they are being sold. I just can't find them for the life of me, and while I would love to do the figures, I figured, you know, the plush are all around the same price, and that's what I want to focus on right now. Heck, they've even shown off a Wave 2, which is going to have Supersonic, Classic Amy, Mighty, and another Sonic. This is a big deal considering the fact that Supersonic, Classic Supersonic, I might add, only has a handful of plush, which is something Tomy did, but Tomy's was such a big deal because Sonic the Fighter's plush was the only Classic Supersonic plush we had had. Classic Amy is a big deal because usually Classic Amy is not used. She wasn't even in Sonic Generations whatsoever. And then Mighty is a huge deal because he's Mighty, which means if we get a Wave 3, we'll probably get Ray. And of course, you got the whole Sonic reissue, which is fine because it is a Sonic plush line. So 3 out of 4, that ain't bad. However, we're going to be looking at Wave 1 of this plush line, and I am very excited. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there might be 5 plush in Wave 1, and I'm just remembering incorrectly. Supersonic might be in that wave. but I honestly don't know. But as far as I know, it's the Foreign Wave one. If I am wrong, please let me know so that I can try to find this plush, because you guys know I love collecting. Anyway, though, this is going to be my first time seeing these plush, and I'm very excited. So starting us off, I'm going to try to do this in as great of order as possible, is Sonic. So these plush are interesting. Now, we have had emoji type of plush before, and while this is kind of a very similar style, it's not exactly that. The emoji plush themselves were very specifically with this type of style, but they were also extremely flat, having, well, I guess it is pretty much like that, except just a little bit different because it has more tone on there. Yeah, and those ones were a lot flatter and of Boom Sonic. So this is very interesting because it's not really a plush that you can play with, but you do have some little joints and all of that. But it's a pretty nice and different take on Sonic plush. You know, we've had a lot of good collectors looking plush, and now we have this guy. So let's give a good look at the Jakks Pacific Sonic. So first things first, his ears are flat, as well as having triangle pieces on there, which they do not like to stay up, it looks like. And the little triangle in there for this one is already kind of coming off a little bit, so that makes me a little bit nervous for quality control, but at the same time, it's their first time doing this. I'm sure they'll eventually find their footing. Looking at the rest of this, though, the fabrics I'm not a big fan of. Usually they look super soft, and they are super soft, and they're a very nice feeling, having a very general feel. But these are not feel type of plush. This type of softness, it's okay, but it's not as soft as it looks, which is a little bit disappointing, but, you know, it's okay. The stomach part just feels very weird because it's a rougher type of fabric, but it does go to show that they are willing to go the distance and go the detail to show that, hey, this part is more of Sonic's skin as well as the muzzle, because those are made of the same fabric. The arms do feel a little bit softer, more than rough, and I'm sure after a while I could get used to the material, but not really the biggest fan of it. Going to the eyes all the way up here, you have this kind of pattern that has generally been used for eyes, which pretty good design choice. We do have a little bit of ridges on the eyes, probably just to keep it sewn in there. And then you also have the blacks of the eyes, which look really nice. Normally, these plush companies have quite a hard time actually doing Sonic's nose, and while it is a little bit more of a Knuckles type of look, I feel like this actually looks very good, especially since it's head on. Normally, if it was to the side, you'd want it to be a little bigger because classic Sonic's nose is more like that and does have a shine. But in this case, I feel like they did it very perfect. It's like a little gumdrop. I'm not eating Sonic's nose. That'd be gross. But it's like the little size and shape of gumdrop, and that's really cute. You've also got that smile really there, which is a nice, very cute, very Sonic, very classic Sonic, I should say, smile. So that looks really cool. And not sure, but this art might be new. And by the way, this tag, really, really cool tag. Really liking that. So, other things to look over is the gloves. First of all, within that part, not even getting to the legs or the shoes, you have another piece of fabric, which I believe is actually the part of the eyes. You've got his fists closed, which honestly works for really well for a plush of this size, because if they were open, it would probably look kind of weird and disproportionate because his hands would be bigger than his arms. And I don't know about you, but if my hands are bigger than my arms, probably not going to be able to hold them up. I mean, we could ask Wreck-It Ralph, but his is bigger than his arms, but not longer. And this would be longer than his arms, too, had they been open. So, questions we really don't want to know about. But so far the design for that is actually really nice. And if you're curious, the back is actually not completely flat. You might think because the spikes for his head are going this way, which is an interesting choice. Probably due to the fact of his more 2D. Oh, to show that it's more of like 2D for classic Sonic. That's really clever. That's very clever. I'm wondering if they get into modern, well, when they get into modern Plush, if maybe they'll actually do like 3D because it's 3D and modern. That'd be really cool. But anyway, though, you've got the little spikes on the back and his tail right there. And for some reason, his tail is super stubby. This could probably be a little longer and it would make these look nicer. But they probably should have done that. And these are pretty much the right length. They just look a little off-putting just because of the tail. Now, something I'm super interested in is the fact that the shoes look way different than anybody's ever done. Looking at these, you have an actual vinyl type of material that is super, super smooth to the touch and feels kind of beanbaggy for the actual shoe, as well as a different texture for the bottom of the shoe, which is a bit more rough. Not only that, but the strap is made of the same smooth type of material, and you can actually tell that it's popping off of the shoe, which just looks super, super cool. Now, of course, other Plush have done this in the past. However, some of them, like the Build-A-Bear one, I don't know if you can see it, but the one that's like up there-ish? Ding ding, right there? No? To me, I'm pointing at the Boom Plush that you guys can't see, but I'm actually on camera pointing at the Build-A-Bear one. Right there, those shoes, the white is actually integrated into the red. Whereas this, it's popping out. And of course, other companies have done this before. Going to the buckle, it's actually a fabric, which is kind of surprising because I thought that maybe it would be that same vinyl, but because of how it's cut, they might have just decided it would be way easier to do a more flexible type of material, such as felt, because that vinyl, definitely not gonna be nice and flexible. Now, I know we went super in depth with this, but we do actually have 3 more Plush to go in this wave, and honestly, Classic Sonic, looking pretty cute, you know? I was super excited when I saw these guys, and while it's not the best looking Plush, it's definitely a new style of Plush, and I am very open arms to this idea because I think it works really nicely, and I'm very curious to see what Amy's gonna look like in this style, because that's gonna be super cute. Anyways, though, the next character is a character that you just cannot leave out inside of a classic Plush line, although he has been left out of GE's modern line, which I still find interesting, but is in the classic line, is Tails, who is actually upside down. Poor Tails. He always gets the that whole side shift type thing. I don't know if that's the right word. Alright, but let's look at good old Tails. To be honest, even though he is kind of adorable in a dorky way, I'm not really the biggest fan of the look of this. While Sonic was kind of more endearing, and I mean, we'll compare them at the end. Sonic was a little more endearing and cute looking. For some reason, Tails looks kind of off. And I think the biggest reason is that looking at his face really quick, it looks super scrunched in. If you look at it like this, you'll see the nose is very much inward and a lot smaller than Sonic's Gumdrop one, which is fine because that is more how Tails would be, and interestingly enough, no Tails art, but it does say Tails on there. But his face looks a lot more scrunched in. His muzzle does not look like it juts out enough. It probably could have gone a little bit more. So it's a little disappointing to see that that's a factor. You do, however, have his little tufts of fur that are one-piece felt, which is a very common thing for Plush to do, as well as something that has been kind of flip-flopped inside of Tails Plush, which is his little hair tuft, which this time it's actually curved over to the side, kind of little rock 90s. And to this side, he actually does look kind of cute now that I'm looking at his eyes. Like, look at that. That's actually pretty cute. But this little hair tuft, sometimes it's this felt, which it could be one piece of felt or two together, which is this case, or it could be fluffed up, which some have done. Looking at the ears, they are also flat like Sonic's, and they seem to not want to stick up. But the white insides seem like they are a lot more sturdy because it's a lot bigger and a lot nicer. Something that a plush, the third plush we'll look at, is not going to have to worry about. Going further into this, I just realized his little fur tuft at the bottom, instead of doing one of these, which usually gets stuck, they did a fluffy type of thing, and that's really cute. And it's super soft, guys. That's really cute. Oh my god, guys. Jakks Pacific. Oh my god. I might not be the biggest fan of the look, but that design choice is so smart and so clever. My god, that's so cool. Going back to the plush though, his muzzle and his little chest thing do have that same thing as Sonic's does, so showing that even though it's technically fur, this part would be harder. I'm wondering if they did this to kind of make the plush a little bit more sturdy, or if it's just a little more inward so it feels more sturdy, because it feels like it's like more of a styrofoamy material, which is kind of cool. And I think another reason why it feels weird for Tails is that his smile is in the middle. Because a smile can definitely change the look of something. Trust me, I know. But going to the gloves, the arms actually look to be a little bit longer, but I think that's because the hands are smaller, which makes so much sense and is such a cool detail, because Tails is a smaller character who does have a little bit of, well, would have a little bit smaller hands because he's younger, so that's really smart. However, that does show the fact that his arms are super unstuffed, which is very, very bad. And I apologize for the window light, but that's the only light I have right now, other than the overhead one. And sorry, this is going to be possibly a long video. But going to the back of him, something that I really like is the fact that looking at his tails, you have the two tails where they're actually sewn in this way. It's two tails, and they're super, super puffy, but they're actually movable, which is a very, very nice and good touch on their part. You also have the shoes, which the white and the red have that same type of vinyl look to them that Sonic had, which is really cool, and the bottom had that rough part. So pretty cool. So really quick, I'm going to show off both Sonic and Tails, and this is going a little bit longer than I thought it would, so we're actually going to make this a two-parter. So if you guys want to see the next two Jakks Pacific plush, make sure to go and go to part 2, but here is Sonic, and here's Tails. Cannot wait to see the next two characters. But here we go with a whoosh. I know that's very bad, but they're little cute soul buddies, partners in crime. Here, I'll get it quick. That probably looked a little derpy. Not that it really matters, because it's gonna be covered up. But keep Joe safe.